And we're back. That's
What
right,
is up?
everybody. You never thought we would be. We're back again, back from the dead. Oh my
Like a
goodness.
phoenix from the ashes, and guess what? We are coming back with really, it's like we've come full circle because I would love to introduce a very, very special guest, Professor Heartthrob, coming back on the show.
If you're old enough to
What is
remember,
up?
there he is. There's Professor Heartthrob. If you're old enough to remember an episode before this with Professor Heartthrob on it,
You're an
shout out
OG.
to you. You're one of our original fans. And if you have no idea who this guy is, you're about to find out because the story goes far beyond the time of this show,
I
many,
was
many
gonna
years
say,
ago.
maybe before we get into the topic, we should kind of say, because I funny enough, was not one of the founding members of the idea behind Dr. Love. It was actually Professor Heartthrob and Ben. And so I think you guys should go into a little bit of backstory behind how this all even started.
Yeah. First off, great to be back. I've missed both you guys. Like Ben said, it feels like we're on a cruise. Sorry, Dr. Love said. Um,
Linen,
We
baby.
interchange it
All
now.
three of us
yeah,
in linen. Of
we had to bring the linen out. So
course. It's the only
Looking like a
way.
frat guy.
I would say, though, the story really started from a lake trip.
Mm.
It was something that Ben and I had talked about for so long, and we just wanted to see more relationships that we'll talk about this too, that either people simping or just relationships that weren't centered in Christ, and just see more men that were bold in relationships. We just were so done with the dating culture. And Ben, didn't you do something in an old like paper that was like dating advice?
Yeah, I did. I did do something in an old paper. Yeah, so I mean, the story goes back even further. First off, for those of you who don't know, I am cousins with Professor Heartthrob. Okay, so we
True.
need to get that out of the way. We're actually related by blood. So this is an idea. It's part of the family at this point, right? So like he said though, it was a lake trip. The idea for Doctor Love, we kind of had like run it by some different people on the
Our
trip.
grandparents too. We were in an episode with our
Grandparents were a big
grandparents.
part. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. No, and they fully supported the idea because you know how grandparents are. It's like you go over and they're like, "Oh, are you dating anyone?" And at the time neither of us were
We were not.
and it was
You know,
like, well,
I
you
was
can
gonna
jump
say,
in.
if I remember correctly, there was a family friend that you had began to pull information out of relationship wise, and then somehow he gets involved, and that's kind of where it all, I mean, that's not where it began, but that was a big reason the conversation started, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, it was an evolution from there. I feel like a lot of it was just some frustrations that we had seen and lived through in dating culture like you had just mentioned, but I think one of the things that I've seen as like a trend and kind of was right there at the birth of Dr. Love and still is on my heart and on my mind today, and the reason why I still do this at all is honestly because, to your point, Professor Hartog, we want to see men be bold. We don't want to. We live in a world, a simp epidemic. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. We live in a world of men who really want girlfriends and they really want attention, but they're not actually bold enough to talk to women in real life. So they resort to doing all kinds of things that we will get into that are not leading to successful relationships. And
Hmm.
we can
Yeah.
obviously elaborate on what that means too. But that's a little intro.
Yeah, and to go off of that a little bit more too, if you're again an OG viewer, we actually have done an episode previously about simping, and we've gotten so much great feedback from all the people over the years that have listened to it. And Ben and I were talking, and we were really like thinking about like, shoot, there's more to add to this discussion, and we're planning a multi-part series actually out of this, and so we were just gonna go through Just a bunch of different thoughts that we had that we thought maybe didn't fit all into one episode. And honestly, how much things have changed since we made that episode. We now have AI girlfriends, which is
Oh,
uh,
it's a scary
just
thought. Stay
it is.
safe
It's
out there,
terrifying,
everyone. That's
really.
horrible. Uh,
Yeah. So I mean, without further ado, why don't we just hop in?
okay. Yeah, well, let's do it. So, kind of the core of simp theory. First off, let me just start with the definition. Okay. For
Yeah.
those of
Define
you, I'm
simp.
sure you guys have heard the word simp thrown around, or like, oh, he's being a simp, or oh, don't be a simp. But first off, I think we need to define what a simp is and is not, because I think
Hmm.
that'll clear up a little bit of a misconception, right? So, in my
Yeah.
mind, a
How about we like
simp,
let's do that and then lay out scenarios of what a
yeah,
simp would be.
I agree. I like that. And that's why Professor Heartthrob, you've been out there in the field conducting research for the better part of 2 years now. So you're uniquely qualified to speak on some of these scenarios, I think. So I'm going to call on you here in a second,
Yeah,
because I
absolutely.
think we need your expertise in this regard here. But to me, a simp is somebody who excessively obsesses about someone else. It could be it's usually a guy towards a woman. Um where a simp will orchestrate his entire life around making someone aware of his presence or trying to gain someone's attention. And I think that is ultimately the core
And
of
it,
what
I think,
simpery is.
yeah, I think it's that, but you have to add in the factor of with a very low percentage success rate of actually winning that person over,
Right.
usually due to those habits being creepy and weird.
Right.
I'd say
And
that's a pretty
it stems from a lack of confidence in
sure.
directly like speaking to a woman usually. Like you could
Hmm.
still be a simp and talk to a woman, but like a lot of the time it's like someone watching from afar or
The
like
hover,
liking the
yeah.
Instagram
It's all on the
story.
phone, all
You
over
know
Oh
the
what I
yeah.
phone.
mean? It's
The phone
always
is
in
a
the
big culprit of simp activity.
yeah.
Liking and messaging their stories, but then pretending like they don't exist when you see them in real life.
No, exactly. So
Yeah.
let's
So
okay,
let's
Professor Heartthrob. I think we need to take it to him here because he's got some insight. So, what are some scenarios that you have seen in your life that is like it's a common simp kind of frame of mind scenario? Like,
Hmm.
walk us through it.
Yeah, I feel like a common scenario is just the type of guy that DMs like 20 different girls too at the same time, just
Mm.
trying to get one sort of response, any sort of attention.
Please.
I feel like there's like a
Please,
an
I'm
attention.
begging you.
No, I'm begging, please respond.
Please.
The keyboard warriors, you know what I'm saying? Those
Yeah.
two, like I feel like you see those a lot. Like I'm trying to think of like in person. The where's my hug at type of guys. I feel like
Mm.
there's those guys too.
Mm.
Um I don't know, just a couple at the top of my head right now though.
No, I appreciate that because I think we all this really calls to mind certain people. I think if
Mm.
everybody takes 5 seconds and just sits and thinks about this, we all can name at least one person we know that exhibits this type of behavior. But like let's take a step back from that and
Mm.
ask, you know, what is the history of simping? Like, has this always been a problem? Has this recently become a problem? And like, what are some of the root causes, Coach? Like, I want to
Mm.
ask you, like, we've seen the behaviors, we can recognize it, but what's the
Hmm.
root of it?
That's a great question, and I think that the root it has actually changed over the years. I think it's morphed and adapted, so we can start back kind of in the beginning and then start drawing a line to today and how it's probably evolved or maybe
Hmm.
devolved is a better word.
Yeah,
Um
that's probably true.
yeah. So
Teeth.
I I would imagine so I mean, we've seen examples of simping, honestly, as far back as human history. Like, I go back to Adam and Eve. I'll be honest here. This might be a stretch, but when Adam bit into the apple, I mean, he wanted to follow after his girl, and by the first act, this might be blasphemy.
Wow, that
The
is a
first
good
act of
take. This is
simping
good.
was giving in to the actual bite itself and then sinning along with her because he had to follow after what she was
So
doing.
is simping sinning? Is that what we're
I
saying
would
right
argue
now?
it is. Well,
Yeah, I mean,
maybe not.
Okay. I like your.
Maybe
Hey,
that's a stretch.
okay,
That's probably
maybe,
a
but
stretch.
I like what you pointed out. Like, if we're gonna go back to Adam and Eve, literally the first two people to ever walk the face of the earth, if
Hmm.
the original sin was caused in part by someone simping, you know it's got a long history. You know it's been going on for
Exactly. I
years.
mean,
Like, oh,
there's generations, I think, of men seeking out validation from women because that's where it comes from. Whether it was through prostitution, OnlyFans, it's all the same thing, really. It's the same thing on what they receive. They receive a false form of intimacy without actually having to make the commitment to be a better man, and that is a story as old as time. And so, even though simping, the term didn't exist, I think that's the root of it. And so drawing the line today, we see, I mean, new forms just like it's back in like the late 20s when photographs were first invented. They like had those booths you could go into in like gas stations or whatever where like you like put your eyes in the goggles and you see like like a Playboy woman or like that kind of stuff. Like it begins there and it's evolved with video and internet and we remember when we did the first episode, OnlyFans didn't even exist, or it was like not even on the map. And now you have these guys like, okay, you have like the Bop House, and it's just, oh, nasty,
So sad,
so
man.
nasty. It's like you have these girls that are 19 and 20, or like something like 21, I don't even know, and you have just these guys salivating just for the chance to I don't even know, like receive something that is not even real, and
right.
so yeah, that's what I would say.
And I think off of
Yeah.
that too, just ever since the phones started
Mm,
existing, or you talked about Playboys,
yeah,
all these things that these men bring in private, they're not. It's shameful. They don't want to bring up to anybody else. So they're sitting in this like guilt, and if they continue to do it, it just makes it way worse. They become way
hmm,
more awkward. They don't know how to talk to women at all, and it becomes this weird like if it wasn't for the phones where you could just message, like it's
right,
almost like stalkerish. Like it's
hmm,
very creepy and it just gets worse and worse.
yeah,
And I think the root of it too, Ben, is I think you hit it right on, is I think it's confidence. Like it all starts with a lack of confidence and then it just gets worse and worse to that point.
well, I think it's confidence, but it's also a sense of starvation, where it's like you need to have the confidence to actually be able to approach, but then it's like this sense of starvation where what are you willing to feed yourself into to get that validation? Where it's like we see examples with like the OnlyFans people, where you have guys donating thousands of dollars to like these creators
To
just for
just
them
get
to
like
like
a high, like
yeah
to
give
just
like a
like
shout
to
out in a
just be,
video
yeah.
or
And I'm like, what are we doing?
hmm
You know?
In a sense too of maybe like idolizing like a relationship or just
Hmm.
like
hmm
fantasizing too much, like not even in a lustful sense, just straight up like, oh my goodness, if I get a girl or this
hmm
girl will like me or notice me, like this will fulfill everything, and it's not going to. Like that's the
No,
reality of it.
no. I mean, and here's the tough part, right? Is like we can sit here and we can take a look outside and be like, oh, look at all those simps. Like, look at all these people who are donating for girls' bathwater. Like, that's disgusting. That's creepy, which it is.
which
That's
and
super
yeah I
weird.
have a bar about that too
Yeah.
after yeah
Yeah. But what I'm saying is like, all three of us, like, we're believers, we're in the church, like, we're in different environments. Like, I can't sit here and say that I know what all these people are doing, like on sites like OnlyFans. I'm not on there, but in the church, I think there's a different kind of simping that we see, but it kind of goes under the radar because it might not be overtly as weird. Like it's not,
Mm,
but it's still not necessarily, I think, the best for men or like God's design of what we were made to be. Could you
mhm.
guys like talk a little bit about that environment, because I think that's an environment that we're all pretty familiar with, and like
Mm.
what sorts of stuff we see from guys there.
Yeah, do you want to start? And then
Yeah,
I can say
I
something
I could
too.
start. So there's a friend that all three of us know that was telling a story one time about just like what women's experiences are in the church, and it's really fascinating to hear the other side because you know I think we've kind of generated a culture of this like men not approaching women, and it's I think it's beyond a lot of the classic like ideas we have of simps, but it's infected I think a lot of the general population, where
Mm-hmm.
it's like you have these girls that are literally talking like this girl was talking to our friend just about how literally no guy approaches them. Like they want men to approach them and they're open to talk, but it's just such like it's an environment of just this like everyone's scared and no one wants to almost like be the first to do it. Everyone, I think so many guys hop on the assumption that it's like, oh, like this girl's probably already talking to all these other guys. Why would they talk to me? Which is like immediately like self-defeating, you know?
Oh yeah.
And so like when you get like that, what is your response? You know, like do you seek like do you seek the Lord when you have those feelings, or do you seek this kind of self-denial pity party? I'm gonna sit in this and stir because I don't have the confidence to actually go and do something. So that'd be
Mm-hmm.
my example.
Yeah, I would say too, like I wish we had Abby on so she could kind of share like how her and I met and started
Oh
talking.
yeah, by the way, Professor Heartthrob does have a girlfriend, and
Oh yeah.
they're doing very well.
The
So
field research has worked, and shout out
the
Abby, love you.
professor's been cooking up a love formula.
She
Yeah.
and one thing she would say about this too is like she would speak on the girl side of like, hey girls, let's kind of give some hints a little bit, you know, so
Hmm.
some of these guys have more of a confident approach. Like for Abby at least, like she expressed to me early in like very subtle ways that she was interested. She'd just be like, hey, like you should come dancing with me tonight at Guitars and Cadillacs. It's a
Oh
little
yeah.
country bar we like to go to. Come swing dancing. Come play volleyball with me. Like
Hmm.
leaving somewhat of like a door open, I guess. I think it is really hard, and I want to show grace to some of these guys that may be simps that like they have no like they want to talk, but they have no like in through that door at all. So they
Hmm.
don't know like. And I think kind of like you were saying, just I feel like we can get in our heads a lot with that stuff, and like
Hmm.
I think the enemy can twist that a lot and just be like, oh, you're gonna be perceived as like the weird guy if you just go up and approach her, or like she's gonna say no, and like I think sometimes we've all gotten our own heads of like I want the most like successful like chance of this. Like it has to be
Yep.
Hmm.
perfect, and it's like
Hmm.
you're not always gonna get the perfect opportunity.
No.
You know?
Sometimes you gotta make. I've been
Shout
saying
out
this.
Popper.
Shout out
You know.
Popper. One of the best advice I've ever received. Sometimes you got to go out and make the opportunity. Like, not saying
Expand
that
your
it's all
world.
in your own power, but sometimes you gotta put the backpack on and you gotta get out there. Like, and this is me saying like I don't even have any kind of crazy game. I'm not like a smooth guy like
See,
talker.
hold on. I'm gonna stop you right there. We were on the phone the other day, and Dr. Love was saying that I don't believe that at all. I think Dr. Love is very smooth.
I
But
can
continue.
be.
Sorry.
I can. Okay, I'll walk that back. I can be, but it's more of like I'm more of like a jokester. Like I kind of like to make like people laugh, right? I'm not like the guy who's like super serious, always
Like
gonna like. I definitely
suave.
could get. I could get to that. I could be serious with a woman, but like at the same time, like I'd rather like make her laugh a little bit, do something like more playful, not as like intense, straight away. But no,
Like,
sometimes you have to go make the chance happen when you're talking to a woman, like straight up.
yeah, I think honestly we're beginning to live kind of in like this age now where it's like I'm not saying it's specifically this way. I don't think it's like as extreme as what I'm about to say, but I think we're seeing two camps start to form where it's like you have the guys that are naturally more bold, and they thrive in an environment like this where they can just go up and say something and not care. That I think that has always existed, but
Hmm.
I think it's like you have that, but then you have the other side where it's almost like everyone else, where it's turned into this more like if you're a little timid, then you become really timid because of like kind of what you were talking about with like the culture is I think discouraging a lot of approaching too though, just to be like to give these guys
Yeah.
credit, you know? And so the ones that are always going to be bold I think are just going to stay that way. But to the guys most of the people in the middle, that's I do see kind of where the problems are forming, right?
Right. No, couldn't agree more. And I think too, to kind of expand on what you said about like the opposite ends of the spectrum, I believe like simpery, it isn't like it's not like a disease that you either have or you don't have. I believe there's a
Mm,
spectrum. I call it the simp spectrum, right? Imagine like a line graph, right? Or like a timeline, right? Where you have
sure.
one end and another end. On one end, you have like on the
It's almost
far
it can be
left
like a
side,
wavelength, you
yeah,
know? It's like
almost a wavelength. On the one end, it's like, yeah, a bell curve almost,
mhm,
where it's like you have the majority of the population in the middle 20%. You have like extreme left, extreme right, right?
right.
I think on this side, on one side, you have the bleeding heart, like I'll literally worship the ground you walk on. Like
Drink your
I'll send
bathwater.
you like
Sydney
just I'll
Sweeney.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
stuff.
like that type guy. And listen, I'm not even saying that. And I'll get to that in a minute about how it's not bad to be romantic and how that's not the
Mhm.
same thing as being a simp. But I'll save
Right.
that.
Hey,
That's a
real
separate
quick
point.
too.
Yeah,
Also, if there's a listener that might be on this side, like, bro, I promise you, they're like, you are worth way more than that. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. No,
Mhm.
because I would say, okay, so that's one side. Okay, the other side is like the Andrew Tate, like I don't like women are incapable of
actual
understanding.
toxic
Like, yeah,
masculinity.
the other side's like actual, like,
Treat women like
yeah,
objects,
treat
like
women like
but
objects, like they're
but
not
it's
worth
weird because
anything. Blah blah
those
blah.
two things can come full circle though. Because
They can.
people on the very far end of the simp spectrum treat women like an object because they project so many things onto them.
Right.
Where on the other side of it, you have men treating women like objects because they think they're inferior. And
Right.
it's interesting. It's interesting how it kind of comes around.
It almost is like a circle. And honestly, I believe that everybody falls at some point within that spectrum. Like obviously,
Mhm.
I think there's very few people on like the extreme ends, but I think like the majority of the people are somewhere in the middle. Maybe you're a little bit more like less idealistic, so maybe you probably fall closer towards one side or the other, or maybe
Mhm.
like some life circumstance has influenced you for whatever reason you tend to be more one way. I know for me, like just being transparent, I probably fall closer to the simp side than I do the other side. I'm gonna just be real. Like I would probably put myself more on that side than I would on the other. Probably not the extreme, definitely not that, but
Yeah,
like
definitely not. Definitely not.
definitely not that. Like let's just clarify that now. But yeah, I don't know about you guys.
I mean, I think typically people do probably fall more towards that side. I think if you're honestly if you're a more emotional person,
Yeah.
like I think it's easy to like define what is what, but I think in general, like, you can look at personality types, and, like, I'm not going to go the Enneagram whatever route, but it's like, if you look at generally what people's personalities are, the more emotional and the more the more they respond to emotions, I think the more simp activity can begin. And if they're
Right.
more like of a driving presence, and they're more just like a get it done task based, then it's almost like the toxic side of it, you know? And
Mhm.
so, I mean, I'm definitely more of an emotional person. As far as guys go, I feel like I definitely take that into account. So that leads to this, like, simp longingness, you know, of like
Mhm.
this
Yeah.
desire for something that's real, but not fully seeing it through because of whether it's fear or anxiety or whatever it is. You know, I've struggled with that too. Do you have anything to say?
Well, you said it all.
Yeah.
He
So,
said it
I'd,
all.
I'd probably be like you, Ben, though. Just lean a little bit more that way. And I think
Yeah.
Mike's exactly right. Just
mm-hmm.
if you are a little bit more emotional, I think you're going to be a little more on that side too. So,
Right. No,
Mm-hmm.
I okay, that kind of brings up like transitioning into the next point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times I think when people think simps, they think, oh, like I think they confuse that sometimes with like people who are genuinely trying to be romantic. Right? So like I think certain times or situations it's like how can you be sensitive and romantic, but also not allow yourself to totally become a simp. You know what I mean? Because I think
Mm-hmm.
that that's like a hard balance to play. You want to be you want to be real, but you don't want to be too
Like,
far
yeah,
one
you don't
way or
want to be
the
walked
other.
on, you know?
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to like completely just fly by the wind wherever direction the wind blows. You're just tossed, right? So how does someone avoid that?
can you give me the definition of a simp again?
Well, it was kind of we tag teamed this one, but my definition of a simp is someone who has like an excessive level of obsession
Mm-hmm.
for someone else and is willing to change or like significantly cater to the person to the extent that their entire life
Revolves.
orchestrates
Yeah.
itself
Yeah. Okay.
around someone else. That's
Mm-hmm.
what it is to me.
Because with that, like, I think these people that are on that far end of it are just searching for some sort of affirmation. And I think a way to get out of that is if you are in like a healthy relationship, you don't need to be the one just doing everything or going out of your way and like you're saying getting walked on in a sense.
Right.
Like you both are making an equal effort. Like I think of like in marriage, like you both need to be like sacrificing to meet each other's needs and like going out of your way to do like nice things for each other. Like I think too, there's been a on like a maybe a worldly standpoint of just like a simp is like someone that's like doing too much, but at the same time it's not. They're just doing. I don't know. I feel like some people get labeled as a simp when they're like going out of their way to be kind and like
Yeah.
very sweet to women or romantic. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what your guys' thoughts
No,
are
I
on that, but
agree.
I
100%.
agree. And yeah, it's funny because I think, and maybe later we can talk more about like what is simping activity and what isn't. Um, but I think a lot of times, and this is what I want to talk about right now, is motive behind why you're doing things. I think the way that a lot of men specifically can avoid, and I mean honestly, women too. Women do simp over men a lot of times too, and that's not talked about as much. Because there's more of a negative connotation with the men because of how extreme it can be. Um, and typically men will initiate more stuff. But all that to say, it's like when you're literally placing someone on a pedestal that they can control your every whim, it's like, what does that show about how you view yourself? And it really just tells me when people behave that way, they don't have a very high self-image. Just because they're looking for affirmation in something that isn't really from the Lord, because the Lord is what's going to define and tell us who we are and what we're about and what we should stand for, rather than the affirmation of some random internet person online. You know, it's like that's really what it boils down to.
100%.
And so when you look at motive behind why people do what they do, it's like, are you getting her flowers because you genuinely care about her, or because you think that it will win you something? And it's like almost like a manipulation tactic, not because you want her to have it, but because you want her to be yours. Like that's a two different mindsets. And so yeah.
I think with the obsession side of it too, like, I mean, we're talking about earlier with these simps on like far end of that side
Mm-hmm.
of just like you brought up like Bop House or OnlyFans, and it's like I
Yeah.
think that now we live like when these people are in such deep isolation that like some of them I like idolize some of these celebrities or these IG models or whatever it is like too much to a
Mm-hmm.
fault. And like you're saying, like I thought what you said about the Lord being our only source of like confidence and
Mm.
affirmations really good.
Mm.
Is like these people are just regular humans. Like they are. Like
Right.
ultimately like and it's really sad when somebody perceives them as like this sort of like God or these celebrities or whatever it is. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're ultimately just humans that might be good at some sort of craft. Like whether it's like a celebrity that's a musician or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it may be.
Right.
No, I agree. I think that it becomes so easy to your point about not having confidence in yourself. If you don't know who you are, you look elsewhere to find that identity. And I think like that journey, it's easy to say you know who you are. But I think when you're faced with certain situations, it becomes kind of defining to where you learn a
Yeah.
lot about yourself and you're like, wow, maybe I thought I was this kind of way, but I'm really not. Or like, man, I kind of crumbled in this situation when I could have, taken steps to not. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's all sorts of situations that we find ourselves in life where I think we're faced with, okay, the fundamental question is, who are you? And how
And whose
convicted
are
are
you?
you?
Are you
Whose are
this
you?
person? Are you
That's
like
good.
the object of who this person wants you to be, or are you the Lord's? You know, like
Right.
who do you belong to?
And it totally changes the way that you respond to situations. Like for me, I feel like I'm not always perfect at this. I've had my moments, but one thing I've realized like at this point in my life is like I know that there's areas of weakness that I have as a man. But at the same time, I'm also comfortable with who I am overall. Like I know who I am. I have my I have a clear identity. I have a purpose. I don't need the validation from someone else to give me that feeling because it's not a feeling. I think the thing that another thing with Simps is this is going to get me on a different track, but I think it's important to say is Simps crave the feeling of validation as a substitute for self-worth.
Hmm.
They crave the feeling of validation because when they receive that validation, it allows them to feel like they're worth something. If you don't believe you're worth something, and we do because we know we were created for a purpose, we were created in God's image, right? If you know that in your head, but you don't believe it in your heart, you become addicted to validation from some external source. It's not always simping. Sometimes it's a sport, sometimes it's a job, sometimes it's a hobby, sometimes it's a vice. Like honestly, it becomes a personality trait.
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes it's a person, and that can lead to simping. It can lead to bad relationships, all kinds of stuff. But it's like I think at the core of it all, you have to know who you are, you have to know whose you are, and you have to have a certain amount of sense of self worth. Know how valuable you are, because if you don't have that, you're always going to be looking for other things to fill that void.
Yeah. And like ultimately realizing too, like if we're going off relationships, you're complete in itself without the relationship. Like
Right.
you don't need another person to complete you.
Mm-mm.
You're completed in itself. Like especially us, like we know we're complete in Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Um But yeah, also one thing I wanted to say real quick is like, I don't know if we hit on this, but I feel like simping also stems from loneliness. And I know I brought
Mhm.
up isolation earlier, but like being lonely and
Hmm.
even just in a sense of like, I mean, we were all in community for a while when you were
I was
here.
gonna bring that up.
It's like if
Yeah.
you don't have any other like friends in your life that are just like, if we want to talk about love languages, like giving you
Hmm.
words of affirmation, like
Right.
acts of service, being there for you, just being like doing what
Kiss the
friends do,
homies goodnight,
yeah, you're gonna be searching for something else. And like
Right.
I think a huge thing that stems from stems simps on that like far into the spectrum is loneliness.
For sure.
Hundred
I
percent.
mean, 100% there. Like,
Typically,
not having that validation in real life, not receiving any encouragement, that's huge.
yeah, I think that people typically fall into such like levels of extreme simp behavior when they have no one else actively in their life. You know, it's like it's typically people that are like the loner type, the ones that don't really have that many close friends, and if they do, maybe they're like online friends or whatever it is, and they give themselves over to a platform that enables them um to do it while taking the easy route out. And that's the very extreme end. Like that's like the literally like you have the I'm sure a lot of people have seen this now. It's going viral. The Sydney Sweeney soap, and like it's like literally made with her bathwater, and it's like it's breaking into the mainstream. And that's like it used to be some obscure internet thing, and now it's like people just see this stuff. And it's like it's got to be a deeper rooted symptom of something because it's like here's one I saw where there's like you know how you can like do like the Google search terms where you can like
Yeah.
see like what searched over time. There
Yeah.
was one I saw where it's like is soap edible and it showed like the curve going up like right the past like month, and it's just like
Oh my.
it's like this is what like we're breeding a generation of people that don't have connection, and so it's like even if it's just, if it's as a joke, it's just like why are we getting to this point, you know? And I think you touched on it perfectly. We're less connected now than we ever have been with the internet,
Social media is
social media, all this stuff. It's like we have this false sense of connection, but it's so hollow, you know? It has no weight and depth to it.
we're the most connected generation, yet we're the most isolated generation.
Right.
Hmm.
And we have the most anxiety, the most depression, the most mental health issues, the
Yeah.
most like eating disorders of any generation ever
Yeah,
in
but if I
history.
donate $1,000 to the e-girl, then all my problems will go away, right?
Yeah,
She'll say
no,
my
right.
name. Shout out.
And here's the other thing too that I think is important that we need to talk about is I think a side effect of simp culture has been like I can't always I always go back to Professor Heartthrob. You were there when our grandparents told us this story, but like our grandpa like asked out our grandma the day he met her, and that night they just like went out, and then the rest was like history. Not saying it
Hmm.
was easy, not saying that they had like an easy relationship at all, but like the way it happened was just it was simple. There wasn't a lot
We
of overthinking.
overcomplicate it so much today.
Right. Like we make all these and I'm not saying boundaries are bad. I'm not saying any of that is bad. I'm just saying I think because of the number of illusions of options, like if you're a simp, if you get tired of one e-girl or if you get like bored of one girl, oh well there's always another that you could talk to. There's always
Hmm.
or in real life,
Or
like
an
if you're
AI. You could just talk to the AI and not even,
right. I mean,
you
that's an
know?
extreme example. Like that is a road I pray to God I
Dude,
never have to see.
I
But
forget the stat, but I think I saw something where it was like I forget into the number. I don't want to butcher it, but there is a percentage of people now that consider AI their friend, like
yeah, there
actually.
is. No, it is
And
true. I mean,
and then even a step further, like a lover, actually.
which that's disturbing on a number of levels. But like no, for real
Yeah.
though, like that we overcomplicate things so much and I think so much of that has been because of the damage that's been done. by the bigger culture surrounding simps, and it ends up hurting men because it makes us more timid, it makes us like less likely to go approach, and it makes people less receptive. If you're a guy who does go and like tries to do things the right way, it just makes it harder for you because of the after effects of simps who've come before. And
Mhm.
then if you're a woman, I mean, the effects are obvious. Like just really weird guys hitting you up all the time in the DMs, or like guys hovering around you in real life, but never.
saying
It's just,
anything, just
yeah,
watching.
never saying
Yeah.
anything, and it's just it's a shame. It's just bad for everybody.
Mhm.
And I feel like too, I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes of somebody that is on that end, and it's like I feel like there's a big fear of rejection too. They've been so
Huge.
comfortable for so long of just like, well, I know, like, you're talking about AI girlfriends. Like, I haven't like this has been fine. Like, I have an unlimited. I'm like I can just get another one tomorrow, or like you're saying with
Mhm.
all the options on social media. And it's sad though. It's like you getting in a healthy relationship is going to be so, yeah, it's not going to be perfect, exactly like you were talking about with GMP, like our grandparents, like they had their own problems, we all have our own problems in relationships, but it's going to be so much more fulfilling than something that's fake.
Right. Because what are you left with at the end of the day? Like,
You're honestly more lonely after than you were
worse,
before. You feel
more
way worse.
lonely, and probably in a worse position than if you had never talked to anybody at all.
Yeah.
And it's hard to see, and that it's something though that like at a more mild level, I think it helps to remind ourselves daily or at some
Mhm.
interval, like, hey, we need to we need to keep these things in mind, because it's like I look around at the world and I observe how people interact socially, and you just see how deeply it's infected the culture. It's gone very, very deep.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
especially within the church culture, which is one thing that I can speak on. I've
mhm.
seen it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly though, I think you guys are being way too hard on my AI anime girlfriend.
Oh
She's
my
a cat
gosh.
girl. I'm sorry.
I think we might need to censor you. I might need to have a censor button right here where I could just mute, mute,
Yeah.
Hey,
mute,
for any of
mute.
our viewers too that may be struggling with like boldness, you
Mhm.
miss 100% of the shots you don't
No.
take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
Yeah,
Mhm.
hey, and sometimes you throw up bricks, and like you just
Yeah,
gotta accept that it comes with, like, sometimes you have an off night. You might not
exactly.
be like
Mhm.
Josh. You remember there was a time at Mo Country, I believe it
Oh
was,
man.
where we just kind of reached the end of it. Wasn't even anything like crazy, but we reached the end of the night, and we're like, you know what? That just wasn't, just not my day. Like
Yeah,
not my
but
day.
like you at least like are proud of yourself. Like, hey, I put myself out there. Like I at least
Right?
tried.
Yeah. I would rather just go for it and fail than just
Not
always
go.
wonder like the, oh, what if,
Oh, also, that's a great point. I think there are we've heard this before. Like people that want to sit in that fantasy of just like they don't want the rejection so bad that they
Hey,
like the thought of like
hey, that's been me. You know,
I've been there
yeah,
too of
that's been
like,
me.
Hmm.
oh, like this is so comfortable, like
It's
I
the illusion of options. We've talked about this many
And
times.
none of it's real. It's an
or even just
illusion.
that one person that
Yeah.
they may have been simping on for a while and just have
Mm.
this idea of
And
like,
you have this whole life in
oh,
your
but we're
head.
such good friends too, and like I love how it's going right now.
I've
Well,
had
if you guys stayed,
dreams
it'll be
about
so
this
much
person.
better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've literally had a dream that they're my soulmate, and God told me that I was going to marry you.
Well,
So,
have you talked to them in real life? Because so many times I hear something like that and the answer's like, well, no,
dude, I
or
just
like,
know it, bro. I just
and
know
I'm
it,
like,
dude.
sometimes you got to go out and actually and talk. You have to talk to the person. So
And with
that would
that,
be my
face to
encouragement.
face interactions are always so much better. So much
Always.
better.
Face to screen. It's okay. Stop. Oh, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Nah, face.
Censor him. Censor
No.
him.
Bleep.
No, of course I'm joking. face-to-face is always better. And FaceTime, phone calls, they don't replicate the same thing. And,
Right.
you know, we've talked about on the show before that we always are in favor of communicating with every single element at play. Like, if you're just texting versus even a phone call versus FaceTime, you're losing elements along the way that you could better find out when you're with them in person.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Sometimes all you need is a carnival photo shoot too to kind
Oh
of
my
get
goodness.
the
Man.
ball rolling on where
Oh,
I
you
man.
want
think
to be.
for the thumbnail of this video, I think you should use a picture of us from the carnival.
Maybe
cruise.
like holding the long hat.
Yeah,
I think so. Maybe with the John Bellion song in the background. Maybe.
We could be
It
kids
might
again,
be-
you know?
I mean, I think it could be good.
Oh, wait.
Personally.
Off of that too. So, all three of us went on 2 cruises together,
This is
We
right.
did.
disconnected from our phones. A lot of people were.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Did you
Some
see
of the
how
most
much...
real connections we've ever
Exactly.
had.
That's exactly what I was
Honestly.
gonna say.
We met some of the most unique individuals
These things,
that
man,
we would have
yeah.
never done if we had had our phones and constant internet access. So,
Wait.
okay.
You know what
Viewers
I've
at
got in
home,
my
he's
head.
grabbing something.
Wait. I'm sorry.
Yes,
I think-
I wish
wait.
I had mine. Wait.
It's-
Give me 2. I'm grabbing mine now.
Oh, wow. Isn't that a satisfying feeling? Oh,
There is something so satisfying about like it's such a
sometimes you gotta
satisfying
dust off the
noise to
flip
just
phone,
hear
man.
it.
Just let them know.
Also, one of the coolest pictures I've ever taken, my Instagram profile picture right now of the cheetah,
Was that
slightly
with the
grainy.
flip phone?
It was with this
No
phone,
way.
and it looks like a watercolor painting, and it looks awesome.
Hey.
What
But
up,
you know
man?
what summer it is? It's a flip phone summer, baby.
Listen to
Sorry.
this.
Dude, he did that when you won.
Oh.
No,
Wait,
it's so
hold on.
satisfying though.
Here you go.
Oh, wait, ring. Is that Aura calling?
Oh,
Oh, hello. It's
Sorry.
your boy, Coach Cry.
yeah, no, you guys, you better not play with me because I'm about to
that
go.
is-
I might go flip phone
I'm
summer.
gonna put it right in the
again.
mic.
I will
Yeah.
say too, Ben can attest to this. Everyone loves them. Like you
Oh.
pull this thing out, everyone's like cracks up. It's a great like
Good
conversation.
party trick. Yeah.
100%.
Got Abby's number on this. So
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fun fact, got his girlfriend's number on the flip phone. So,
So
if you want a
it's a-
girlfriend,
get a flip phone.
Get a flip
Yep.
phone. That's the tip. And honestly, I think that's a good place to end because I really don't think I could come up with a better outro than that. So, hey everyone, it's a flip phone summer. It's a church boy summer, and you know what that means. It's time to get out there. It's time to be bold, and don't be a simp.
Yeah, don't flip out, get a flip phone.
Yep.
we love it.
There you go.
See you guys. Thanks.
Dr. Love
Thanks for
out.
watching, everyone.